Hi, I'm Bill Arnold. Thank you for listening to this podcast of Real Recovery. There are many more podcasts available at myfaithradio.com. Your support makes this possible. Thank you. You know that music, it surfs up. It's time for Real Recovery. Bill Arnold on this side of the studio, and just across the way, George P. Fraser. Hello, George.
Billy, how are you?
You know me. I am always glad to be doing Real Recovery because we hear stories that are so amazing of what God's doing in people's lives. And I don't think I ever get tired of hearing a life be transformed.
I'm with you on that. One of the things that I've learned from doing this show is one night after we did the show, we went out to dinner. And you told me if God's sovereign, which he is, nothing happens that he doesn't allow. Everybody you meet is a godly appointment.
Amen.
And our guest tonight is going to roll into that because I met her at the club swimming. She's a super triathlete. She teaches swimming. And I just started talking to her, and lo and behold, she's got a great story with God in her life, and she's going to be coming on. But before we get to her, we always do a step. And the reason we do the steps is it helps us empty ourselves of our ego, our thoughts, so God can fill us up with his Holy Spirit. It's a guideway for our living, Bill. That we don't worship at the 12 steps, but we believe God provided them because they're biblical as a way to walk out our faith. And I know for me, I can hear a great sermon on Sunday, and I don't know how to do it. By working the 12-step program, I'm able to participate rather than just listen.
The application part is always the challenge, isn't it? You hear a great message, you hear good teaching, and then you go, how do I implement this into my life?
Well, you told me a long time ago you do a lot of speaking, and that's where we met at the Salvation Army, that every time you give a talk, it always is about Jesus, and it's always a salvation message at the end. But you say, I always try to give somebody something in a brown paper bag to take home. Mm-hmm. And I started thinking about that, and one of my, I guess, letdowns or disappointments in hearing people talk, whether in recovery or churches, tell me how to do it, please. And I think on this show we make a real effort at that. And the 12 steps are our way to walk out God's truth.
I like that. So let's pick a step to celebrate.
We should spin the big wheel.
Yeah, go ahead and spin the big wheel. There's 12 steps. Let's let Ryan pick one tonight.
Yeah.
Give us a number, Ryan.
I'm trying to think what you want me to say, George. Because I think you're looking at me and you're like, I really hope he doesn't say this one, and he keeps it between one of these.
1 and 12.
All right, the wheel's spinning over here.
It is.
We'll see where it lands, and it's number
click,
7.
click. Number 7.
7.
All right.
I like it. 7 and 8 go together.
Okay.
So
explain why.
Well, one is about preparing, and the other is it's doing, and then 8 is where we get into the men. So 6 and 7, actually, I misspoke there, go together. And it's about our defects of character and our shortcomings. And we have to list them out, and then we have to do it. And there's a 7th-step prayer. But once we get through step 5, which is the confessional prayer, or if you're a Christian, you don't just feel good and get the promises. You get forgiveness, which is a big deal. And later when we make amends, we take that in. But when we get done with the confession, we want to look at, okay, what were the defects that caused you to do it? And you list them, and you pray the 7th-step prayer. God, I'm now willing that you should have all of me, good and bad, that you're being open and honest with your Creator. Remove from me everything that stands in the way of my usefulness to you and my fellows. Grant me strength as I go out to do your bidding. Kind of a paraphrase. I'm sure a couple of those words were off, but there's an amen after that prayer. Mm-hmm. Well, there isn't after the step 3 prayer. And I asked an old-timer one time, why is that? He goes, oh, very good. Well, in step 3, when you make a decision to turn your will and your life over to the care of God as you understand him, Jesus, there's work to do. 4 and 5 and 6. And after you do the 7th-step prayer of giving God your defects of character and shortcomings, that's done. The amen is there.
Cool. That's
So-
when you put on the work pants.
Well, yeah, and I thought about that, and I thought, that's very right, because I know for many years of my in and out of recovery, I would pray really earnestly, take this away from me. And I'd have the 3 months and go back, 3 months, go back. I made it 9 months and went back because I didn't do the work. And I think in Christianity, my Christianity, my walk, and my recovery, I thought just because I knew it, it would happen. So I hope everybody's in a Bible study. You and I are. But you have to do what it says. And the book of James says, even the demons know Scripture and shudder. Obviously, they're not doing the deal. But for a lot of us, you kind of think it's going to happen by osmosis, and it doesn't. I remember the old saying, if you want to have potatoes, you got to pick up the hoe.
I didn't even know where you're going with that.
No, and it's like you got to, you got to
dig the potatoes up.
Yeah, you got to plant the seed, and you got to water it.
Okay.
God supplies the sun, the soil, and the seed, but you have to till it. So anyway, that's about all I have tonight.
That's good. That's real good. I wish you had more, but
that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. Yeah. So, George, I'm just curious, in your past recovery programs, speaking of personal applications, if you're going to find yourself in a situation where there might be temptation, would you have called your sponsor in advance to say, I'm playing golf with a group of guys that really like to drink when they play golf, and give him a heads up to prepare you for that outing?
Sometimes I'd ask his advice on my plan that I had.
Okay.
I mean, what's different this time is I have a plan.
You always have a plan now.
Yeah.
Good.
So like when we look at 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove all our defects of character. And being entirely ready, the only thing like I was entirely ready was to play golf or hang out. And I have to pray for the desire to do that. But then, you ask him to remove your shortcomings in 7. And one of my shortcomings is I think I can handle stuff that I don't. I can be very arrogant. I know you never see that with me.
Not with you.
Yeah, thank you. And you should look at your honesty as one of yours. So, but I'd always have a plan. So what I finally learned this time is I can play golf with guys who drink. Not in my cart or not, if I'm walking. But I don't go into the clubhouse afterwards.
No, you don't.
And you go, are you that bad? Yeah, really I am.
Those are healthy boundaries, George.
I learned at my 20-year high school reunion that the big thing there, besides looking at all the girls you went out with in high school and your buddies, and we had a golf tournament, and with carts, the big thing was to unbuckle the guy's bag so when they took off in the cart that they went flying, which was really funny that day, and I realized I'm like I was in high school. When we're done playing golf, George F. is heading to the exits. And that's what I finally do. I don't get into situations where I have to say no. I only have so many no's left in me. And the Big Blue Recovery book talks about if you're going around alcohol or things like that, do you have a legitimate reason to be there? And most of the times I don't. And what I found, for me, it's a lot easier to avoid temptation. Bad company corrupts good character. Because I would go, well, I'll hang out with these guys. They know that I'm in recovery and they won't let me drink. Well, nobody's going to stop me. Mm-hmm. And it would bring it back, and then it was just overwhelming, and I'd cave. And for me, it's a lot easier. I don't go to casinos. I don't go to bars. Mm-hmm. And almost everybody in my life is a non-drinker.
Beautiful.
And if they do drink, they don't drink like I did.
Yeah, and hopefully they respect your sobriety and your commitment to recovery, and also to just say no is a complete sentence. And you have the choice to Say no and move on. We're going to take a little break and be right back. You're listening to Real Recovery with Bill and George. Our special guest is with us right after the break. Welcome back to Real Recovery. Bill and George, Ryan's at the board, and we have a very special guest in studio. George, please do the honors and introduce our guest.
Well, our guest today is Laura, and I met her at the swimming pool, interrupted her workout before she started. She's an instructor, but I had met her 2 or 3 years before her husband, and we're going to get to that story. But when I first saw both of them, Bill, they look like professional Ironman triathletes.
Turns out they are.
Yeah. And
yeah.
And so I was talking, she had a cross, and I said, when I knew who she was, her husband, she had had an illness, and we'll get to that, was so encouraging. I thought, who is this guy? He's such a nice guy. And then we reconnected, and I realized it was her, and we were talking about that. And I said, we have a show called Real Recovery. And would you do it? And she's here. So thanks for your willingness.
Yeah.
It's so great.
Having me.
So great.
Thrilled to be here.
So growing up, what was your house like? You went to church?
Yeah. Growing up, my house was, full of love. I have great mom and dad, loving. And I have a sister that's 18 months older than me. We were 2 grades apart in school. She's, we were good friends. We also would be at war with each other, but we were really competitive and had a lot of fun together. I'd say I grew up in a extremely loving family, and I had a great relationship. My grandmother was integral in my faith. I just see now the whole seeds she planted, even after the years she's been gone, 21 years now, and it's cool to see what they talk about when they say you're planting the seeds.
Oh,
and
amen to that.
not seeing that. It's really cool to see that. So that's been fun. But yeah, I grew up in a very happy, loving family, and outside of Minneapolis in a town called Edina.
Nice. Did you feel like you fit in pretty well in school? Did you have friends, and you were kind of in a group of friends that enjoyed being together and supported one another?
Yeah, I had really wonderful friends. We were all kind of sports jocks.
Nice.
But so I would say I wasn't very girly. I liked to be out playing basketball all the time and running and just anything I could do that was sports. School was hard for me. It's hard for me to sit still. I've got ants in my pants. I like to move around and be doing stuff, and I like
There's
to be
nothing wrong
involved.
with that.
Yeah,
really.
I don't live a very sedentary life. So when I have had to live more sedentary, God really does a work in me.
I like that.
So yeah.
George, I was thinking of some of the best soldiers that we have are like 18, 19, 20-year-old kids, right?
Okay.
You take the kids those age and you put them in college and you say, now sit and read. So I completely get what you're saying, Laura. I mean, your wiring is to be moving, not to be sitting. So I can understand the challenge.
Yeah.
Can you still finish the show, or we have to wrap this up early?
Nope, I'll just bounce my legs a little. I
Okay.
get it from my dad. He bounces his legs a lot.
So were you a really good athlete right from the start?
I was a really good athlete. I would say my sister was an excellent athlete. I was a very good athlete. I worked hard. I wanted to. It was, my dream to play high-level basketball. I loved it. My dreams were cut short due to just my life, but it's okay. And I love sports now. I'm so thankful. Even though I never was an excellent athlete, I was a good athlete, and it gave me a foundation that later in life I could use all my disciplines to continue in sports and still remain very engaged and staying athletic and
Taught you a lot of values and
absolutely. Not giving up. stick-to-itness of it, and just being fixed on the pain. The pain is only temporary, but it's worth it to get through. I mean, the hard work pays off. It's really fun to see. And I realized, too, the journey was sometimes greater than the actual, when you'd get to the game to play or the event to race. The journey was what was so fun, because you'd meet so many neat people along the way in the journey to get to your final big race or final big tournament.
So life's going really well for you growing up. I'm sure you had a lot of friends, good family unit.
Yeah.
What was the first traumatic thing that happened?
Yeah. So in 8th grade, I had a best friend, and we all played basketball together. We were playing traveling basketball. My dad was our basketball coach. I'm so thankful. My mom and dad are wonderful. My dad has just been, I mean, as we get into this more, you'll hear more about, my dad's just been such a pivotal rock for me for my recovery. But in 8th grade, a rumor started about me and my best friend that we were lesbians. And that, in fact, I didn't know what that was. And it wasn't true. And it was the first time that I'd be walking down the hallway and people would tease and say stuff. And I didn't know how to deal with any of it. And it was so awful, because you try to fight people off and say, that's not true. It's not true. We're best friends. We hang out all the time. She'd sleep over. We had fun. You know, we just loved, we were pretty much in the neighborhood with each other. And it eventually dissolved our friendship. Now, we're friends now. We're not close friends. We don't live in the same state, but I think very highly of her. She's wonderful. And I also forgive all the people that started these rumors, because they were young and they were probably going through stuff. But that moment was the first time I felt so devastated that I couldn't defend myself. And when I defended myself, people kept making up more and more stuff. And that's the first time I thought, how can I live? And I think it was the first time I contemplated, do you just die? It's the first time I contemplated suicidal thoughts. And it was the first time I just felt shame for myself. And that started to unlock what was years of on and off addictions. The first thing that came into play was my eating disorder, and inflicting a lot of harm on myself with starvation, bulimia, and just terrible body image stuff.
Laura, talk about that a little bit. That's, I think, of interest. Your first instinct was to just starve yourself, or was your first instinct to eat and then binge and purge kind of thing? Did you ever do that?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I did. I would say that was the most destructive mentally, was the binging and purging, because it was terribly lonely. You felt very out of control. But the starvation, I loved the feeling, because I felt in control. I felt like I was in control till I wasn't anymore, till I found out that my eating disorder became kind of my one and only best friend, but my best friend that would only accept, really, once I got through treatment. The first couple times I found out that my best friend, the only thing that my best friend would accept of me was truly my death. And that's not a very good best friend.
Wow.
So.
Did you get a rush out of that when you purge? Do you get a physical feeling or a relief or?
No, that's why I hated the purging side of it. The anorexic side of the starvation, I would get a high from that.
Okay.
I'd get a high from stepping on the scale and getting elated that it was low numbers, or the purging. No, it was. You felt devastated. You felt so alone. You felt out of control. You felt like, I did it again, kind of like drinking. I did it again. You make promises with yourself, you'd be done. And lots of promises. And I'm thankful that God took that out of my life. I'm so thankful.
How long did that last for you? A period of years?
Oh, yeah. On and off through my life, it's been woven through. I'm going to be 50 in September. And I would say let's see, eighth grade, what was I? Maybe 14 years old in eighth grade. I can't remember. But probably up until, young, I had a relapse of an eating disorder when I had my youngest son, who is now 12. All of a sudden, like the losing weight after having a baby triggered all of it again. And I did go through the Melrose program as an adult. It was different going through it as an adult, but that's when I really walked through real healing. But that's also when my faith really took off.
Yeah. Let's take a little break. We'll come back, continue our discussion with Laura. You are listening to Real Recovery. Bill and George will be right back. We're back with Real Recovery. Bill and George, and our guest Laura is here with us in studio. And I must say, incredible start to the show. If you've missed any of it, you want to hear this from the beginning. And the whole idea of eating disorder and addiction to, would it be thinness, Laura? What exactly was it you were after? Was that the one thing that you felt you had control over, and what you want is control?
Yeah, what I wanted was control. And I guess it was interesting because it was originally you'd set these goals of numbers you wanted, and then you'd get to those, and it wasn't fulfilling. I think it maybe be the same when you think about when you're living a life so sad and so in bondage to an addiction, whether it be eating disorders or later alcohol or, drugs. You're climbing, like you've got all these goals and you're climbing like climbing the corporate ladder. If you're climbing it by yourself and you get to the top, it's lonely. Like every time I'd get to the so-called goal of my weight, it wasn't good enough. I felt empty. And then you'd have something else. So it was just endless road. There was, all you'd be is meandering. It was not grounded on anything.
It's just a mirage, isn't it? You get to what you think is the goal, and it disappears, doesn't it?
Oh, it's so exhausting.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It's so exhausting. I'm so thankful that I'm not in that, but I also am so thankful I went through it because it shaped me into the person I am. I also have met so many neat people, and I love when I see, it might sound wrong to say this, but I mean it out of love, is I love when I meet someone that is in an addiction, an active addiction, and you feel like you can tell that it's on them with faith and with hope, their recovery, what they're going to get in the future. It's so neat to see what's going to come out of the ashes, like the beauty from the ashes, like all of a sudden that catastrophic fire that comes, and then you see the moss growing and you're like, wow, that's so cool. But it's hard to trust that. If someone would have told me this is what's going to happen.
Oh, there's no way you'd believe it.
No.
And you had me till the moths thing. I'll ask you after the
That's
show.
Greek
with them.
mythology,
Yeah.
George, I think.
Is it?
Yeah.
Way above my pay grade.
I know.
I told you
He
I
knows-
wasn't very smart.
He knows Greek yogurt, but that's
Greek
fine.
yogurt.
about it.
That's
Yeah.
good.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So you had this all the way through high school, and my guess is you started using in high school a little bit.
Yeah. In 10th grade, going into 10th grade, actually, I think it was the last day of my freshman year. My parents went out of town with my sister to a graduation in Wisconsin, and I thought, I'm going to have a little party at my house. And that was the first time I started drinking. And boy, I had no idea how much I'd like it. I loved the feeling of being uninhibited.
Do you remember the first time you got the feeling?
Yeah, I do. It was a high, and it didn't take very much. I wasn't a very large person. Still, I'm not a very large person. It didn't take very much. So that also made it hard to know that I had a drinking problem all these years, because if you looked at the quantity, it might not have been so much. But I guess they would say I was a cheap date later in time, that I'd be one or two glasses of wine, and that was plenty for Laura. But that could have been a gallon for someone else.
Mm-hmm.
But I loved the high.
And you knew you're going to be doing it again. So
For sure. Sign me up.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
So as you get into your sophomore, junior, senior year,
Yeah.
Were you running track? Were you swimming?
I was running cross country. I quit swimming because I ran cross country. I quit swimming, which now I'm an avid swimmer again, but I quit swimming because of my eating disorder. I noticed the girls had broad shoulders, and I was too scared that I'd get bigger, and so I quit to run cross country. And also my sister ran cross country, and she was a phenomenal runner and still is. But so I did what she did, and I ran. And that fed into my eating disorder more, because it's you got to be thin. The thinner you are, then you could run faster till your body starts breaking down.
Yeah.
So
You have a lot of success?
I did well. If a lot of things, I wonder what the Laura would have done without an eating disorder, without depression, without drinking.
Yeah. Did
Probably
you go
would have
to
been a better
state, though?
athlete.
Did you go to state? Did you go conference?
I did not. I didn't. Oh, wait. No, I did go to state. We went as a team for cross country to state. I never performed as the top as an individual. But I was a decent enough athlete.
Okay.
I worked very hard, which I'm thankful that I had. I'm so thankful I had my sports. Otherwise, I really would have probably gone deeper. And when I think about it, it's amazing that I was a functional. I was a captain of the cross country team.
There we go.
And I was able to kind of wear a couple different caps and but the secret life of eating disorders, then I'd smoke cigarettes, and then I'd go run, and it was so much lying. I'd lie to my parents, I'd lie to everyone to get by, because I wanted to protect my so-called best friend, which was my addictions.
You got a secret.
Yeah.
It's kind of exciting. You're like a secret agent, this way around these people, this way another.
Mm-hmm.
So were you going to church at all, or were you just a Christmas, Easter type?
More Christmas, Easter. I would say more Christmas than Easter we would go. I'd be with my grandma a lot, and she was my best friend. I just loved my grandma. She was wonderful. And she'd come to all my basketball games. We grew up in a basketball family, and she had a beautiful faith. I mean, just beautiful. So I think that's where I see. I wasn't in church very much, but she'd always say, "Oh, I'm praying for you," and I'd have a sport, or I'd have, going out or whatever. So my real faith going to church did not start till much later.
But boy, was Grandma modeling a person of faith, and a beautiful person of faith, and that is indelible in your heart, isn't it, Laura?
Oh, I'm so. I
Look at you're smiling.
think like
You're smiling. as you're
Grandma
talking about
Evelyn, if you knew, and she does know, she knows, she was just doing what a good servant does,
beautiful.
and sowing the seeds.
Exactly. So you get out of high school.
Yep.
Did you go to college?
I went to a lot of colleges.
Oh, did you?
I did like a buffet, a travel program.
Can we do a quick tour of the world of the colleges?
Yeah, quick. Yeah. So I started at Arizona State.
Uh-oh.
And yep. So I did miserably there. Just miserable. Lots of partying and just, sadly spending my parents' money, like not going to school, not attending class, depressed, making terrible choices. Then I came home at Christmas and said, I'm going to transfer. I called up my grandma, Evelyn, and I said, Grandma, she was very involved at Gustavus. I said, do you think you could get me into Gustavus? I think I need to go to Gustavus, put myself on the sideline. So I got into Gustavus. I went there for a year and a half. And then, again, every place I'd transfer, I'd start a new life, think it was going to get better, think my eating disorder, my drinking, or, any of my stuff was going to go away, and my depression. And then left Gustavus, went to, transferred again to the University of San Francisco.
So the pattern just continued.
Continued.
Yeah.
Moved to San Francisco.
Okay.
Things were okay for a little bit till they weren't.
Yep.
And that's when I learned about dropped out of college there after a year and a half. So I did some good time in college, just never ended.
You did the geographic cure and you wound up right where you left. And
Yeah.
so what did you do after college? Did you get a job?
Yeah. So I saw a bus driving by when I was living in San Francisco, and it said Northwest Airlines is hiring. I thought, oh, cool. I'll go be a flight attendant. What the heck? So I went and did interviews, came to Minnesota and did the whole training, was hired on with Northwest as a flight attendant. And that was fun. I continued living my life of, partying, but I was holding down a long-term job.
It's a tough job.
A real tough job for being a young person. And I loved it. I got to see the world. My parents got to travel. It was great. It was also a time when I was living in San Francisco that then I got in with another crowd that liked to use cocaine. I did that for a while. That was a traumatic, terrible time in my life. By the grace of God, that came and passed, and that I was, I don't know, a year of tumultuous things, but
it takes it real quick.
Yeah.
What finally got you to the end of using? And
Yeah. Well, it kind of, I moved back to Minnesota. I got married, and to my first husband. I got married, and I got pregnant with my son. And that gave me a little break that was the first time I'd been totally clean for 9 months. I never really thought I had a drinking problem because, again, we were talking quantity. I knew I was a regular one. I didn't realize how much of a problem it was causing. I didn't realize how much it was in my, causing my depression, causing so many issues in my life. So it went on and on through many years, on and off of drinking, but not big consequences or anything, but just depression. That was a consequence.
Okay.
I trained for Ironman races. I did all my triathlons. I raced a lot. And thankfully, I think that kept me from going down too deep of a line of the damage of alcohol to the body, but not to the mind.
What brought that to a halt?
Yeah. In 2019, no, it was 2018, I think it was. I was so depressed. I said, Lord, I can't deal with this depression anymore. God, just take my depression away. I'll do anything. And he came to me in my dreams multiple nights. And it was something I didn't think I'd hear. And because I didn't think I had any substance, I didn't think I had a drinking problem. I just like to drink wine every night. And I was functioning. And from the outside, I looked like I was doing just fine. He kept saying, you have to quit drinking. And I'd say, anything but that. I don't want to do that. My life's going to be so boring. How is recovery going to be fun? How is life going to be fun? And then I'd get really mad at myself because I think my dad, I am so grateful. So back in 1981, we were just talking about this today, 1981, about this time of the year in June. He said he remembers it because he went to treatment and he was there during the baseball strike. So it was real boring to go to treatment. And he got sober, and he's remained sober all these years and has not regretted a day in his life. And I thought, my dad's life's not boring. Why do I think my life's going to be so boring? So I wrestled with God on that for a while, till finally, after about a month, I was on vacation with my husband. We went for our anniversary. I was remarried at this point. And I drank a lot on that vacation. I couldn't sleep. I remember praying to God, God, let me feel so terrible whether I have 1 glass of wine or 3. Well, God is a man of his words.
Okay.
I felt awful. I could have 1 sip and I'd feel awful. And then I'd try to think, maybe I just need to drink organic, or maybe I need to do something else. I was bargaining with this. I wasn't going to do it. And then the last day of our vacation, I said to my husband, I'm going home. I'm going to take this deal with God. I'm going to take 1 year off of drinking, and I'm going to give him 1 year to try. And I'm going to really hit it hard. I'm going to quit drinking. I'm going to call my dad as soon as we get back from Mexico. I'm going to tell him what's going on. And I invited him over to lunch. And, it was like they talk in the Bible about like the one sheep coming home and just being loved by the Lord, no less, And my dad was filled with joy that I like finally, wow, what took you so long? Because I'd been interviewing for this position of an addict for a long time. So that's when healing began. And I got involved in going to some AA.
All right, we'll take a little break and be right back. You're listening to Real Recovery, Bill and George. And our guest Laura is going to continue her story of what God has done in her life in just a minute. Quite an interesting story we have. Laura's our guest in studio. And George, I think there's a couple more surprises yet to come.
Yes.
And yet she's going to share the joy of the Lord in this remaining time we have with her. But there is another surprise coming. What is it, Laura?
Well, so during my recovery, I'm grateful. I'm so grateful to be sitting here with you guys and saying, I was thankful that the Lord delivered me from the craving for alcohol, and doing some hard work to get through this. So fast forward, went through some hard stuff. During COVID, we lost my older son. We lost his father to alcoholism during that time. That was a huge blow to all of us. He was a great man. It's a hard disease. And, but I'm so thankful I wasn't drinking during that time to just be there and see God through all of this. And my son, Gus, he's got a calling on his life It's so neat. Then we fast forward a little bit further. 3 years ago in February, I was swimming and just having a good swim, and I got out of the pool, noticed my face felt funny, and within 15 minutes, I'm at Fairview Southdale having a massive stroke. And I can't remember now if it was the right side or the left side of my body. My husband remembers all these things. I don't. But I remember being in the ER, and my parents were out of town. My father-in-law, who is a wonderful man of God, he was there, and he's a retired physician, and my husband. And I somehow was able to mumble to them, "It's okay. I have nothing. I'm like, I have nothing to hide. If I go home to see Jesus, it's okay. I don't have any, the past is the past. I am forgiven, and I am living in freedom of my addiction, and I'm in a really happy place." I was very happy. So, it was odd timing, but I was very thankful that it wasn't, oh no, they're going to go home and find all this stuff of what Laura's living a secret life. Because that was always a fear as a person in an addiction.
Secrets will be discovered.
Yes.
And not on your terms.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I never was angry about the stroke. I was thankful. I was thankful that God put just the perfect people in my life. And it made me all the more confident that God had this all mapped out. And, where they talk about in the Bible, where he talks about like the lamp at our feet and that we only should see a certain spot. I'm so glad that he only shows me that little bit. And just knowing that the recovery from whatever it is, the stroke, the addiction, if you just follow God's plan and just the everyday surrender to it. I remember that, just staying focused on that you can always get through. Don't let your emotions drive that bus. Getting and talking to someone and calling on the Lord, but calling people that'll encourage you, being around people that'll encourage you and tell you, that's not your best decision to do. So let's table that. Let's do that. And recovery's been fun. So many of my friends have since joined me in recovery. That's a cool thing to see.
So the reason she's here tonight, I was swimming in February in the warm pool. And because I was having some breathing issues, and these two people that looked like professional athletes walked in, and you got in and started swimming, and this guy sat down next to me on the edge of the pool, and this guy is just ripped too. And I go, well, is the other pool full? Why would you be in this pool, not the cool one? And he goes, my wife just had a stroke. And I'm thinking, you got to be kidding me. And here I'm thinking, I can't breathe. And he was so encouraging. And you look at the guy, he's really good. And so when I saw her a couple weeks ago at the pool after my swim, I wrecked her workout by yakking. Sorry about that. And she said, yeah, I had a stroke. And I go, you know what? I saw you 2 or 3 years ago. And she told me the story. And her husband was so kind and encouraging. He was so proud of you.
Yeah.
And I thought, I don't know this guy, but I really like him. You have a big, large recovery. And what I always like to tell my guys is we're big event people when we were using. Mm-hmm. We have a big event God. Our recovery has to be huge. And you do that with your teaching, swimming. You were racing Ironman at a world-class level and all this, working, a mom, a wife.
Yeah.
How do you stay with Jesus walking? Are you in any Bible studies? Are you in the Word? And tell us about church.
Yeah. My husband and I are in the Word every morning. It was about a year and a half ago. We decided every morning we were going to get up, have a cup of coffee, and read a chapter in the Bible together. And not just read it together, but read it out loud. And that has started our mornings so beautifully. Even if we're out of town, if one person's gone, we will read over the phone together. Once in a while, we'll miss a day, but very rarely. It's been so great. I'm active going to church. If we're in town, we're in church. If we're not in town, I'll listen to it. But God is in the center of, he is the three chords. And if I'm letting myself drive the bus and not consulting God on a day-to-day, in fact, sometimes an hour-to-hour, sometimes a minute-to-minute, I'm just gross. I've got too much of me on my mind. As one time a guy in AA told me, he said, Laura, I think you got too much of you on your mind. And he was right. He was right. It's that dumb thinking and if you just go to Jesus, it's amazing how he always says different than what you want to say. It's so good.
One thing, I'll give you a little feedback. I'm observing you at the club. It's your pool. You work with these kids, but you're there, your stature, the way you are, you're always smiling and you're happy. And I think the happy, joyous, and free recovery, my guess is you're training in that as an act of worship. Is that true?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Not every day do I feel happy and joyous. Not every day do I feel ready to get out and conquer the world. But I always put a smile on my face when I'm in public to try my best. And it's funny because sometimes you start out thinking, well, when I go home, I'm not going to keep that smile on. But a lot of times it stays. And it's just cleansing. It's so cleansing.
One of the things I wanted to ask you, it's a triathlon question that really ties into faith. So an Ironman is 2.4 mile swim, 112-mile bike, 26.2-mile run. So when you're up to the 56-mile part on the bike, and you have 56 more, and and then you have a marathon, and you raced it. You just didn't do it. When you're getting the times like that, what's the mental calculus of going, I got to do 56 more and then run a marathon? How do you get through that?
I just kept, I was always praying and I was confident. I did the work. I knew I did the work. So I was prepared. And by the time I got off the bike, after the 100 and whatever, 12 mile or 14, whatever it is, I was so thankful to be off that thing. I thought, now all I have to do is depend on my feet and we'll just get this done.
Isn't the first mile running after biking that far really hard?
Oh, yeah. Your legs are like lead. It's like getting off a trampoline. But I didn't have to worry about a flat tire that I still, to this day, don't know how to change one. I've always just said I'll call an Uber. And, but yeah, just staying with it. And the reward at the end, when you cross that line, it makes me think about when they said at the end of my race, you're an Ironman. It reminds me of finishing the race with the Lord. Well done, my good and faithful servant. That's what we all want.
Beautiful. Laura, what a treat. A delight it has been to have you on the show. Thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you.
You bet. That's all the time we have for this award-winning episode of Rural Recovery. On behalf of Bill and George and Ryan at the board, we want to say thank you and have a great week. Thanks for listening. Programming like this is made available through your support. Information available at myfaithradio.com.